Hello and welcome to the 6th week of the Legacy Premier League. I'm Julian, and with me tonight is Phil Gallagher of Trade University. Phil, how's it going?
Going very well. I'm pretty excited for what we have coming here.
Yeah, Phil and I already took a look at the deck list that we've received from the players, which in the lower bracket and as well as in the winners bracket, people got to resubmit deck lists. So I'm pretty excited to see whether Vincent is going to rerun his red Stompy deck that we saw in the group stage. I think he had plenty of reason to maybe change that, maybe got to improve the deck. But overall, we got a ton of amazing matches tonight. We got Wilson Hunter going up against Andrea Mengucci. We got Misaf Lonkar, also known as Marmucho, against Javier. Vincent going up against Javier Dominguez, and former world champion BBD Brian Brown-Doohan is taking on Phil himself tonight. Phil, how are you feeling about your match?
Well, see, it really depends on what BBD is playing.
What are you putting him on?
If I were to be a betting man, I would say that BBD is going to play a control deck of some nature, given his history. So I think he's either going to play Miracles or Grixis Control. I have some questionable cards in my deck list tonight, and what I get paired against may get to show off one of those cards, if not both. We'll see.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, we actually also got affiliate status and had our emotes confirmed for this week. So if you're in the chat and you're a subscriber, can we see some sweet thinking behemoths right now?
Oh, man, I'm subbed to Julian, so I.
Oh yeah, you did. You made a very wise choice to do that. There we got a couple of those going up. So yeah, for everybody who doesn't know what our format is going to look like, we are playing a very classic, basically borrowing a tournament format from General Esports. We're playing upper bracket and a lower bracket, and tonight we got the players who finished 3rd and 4th in their group, so they are actually fighting for survival. Last week, everybody who lost, that includes me, we just dropped down to the losers bracket or lower bracket, and for example, the winner of the first match, Vincent against Javier, is going to take up none other than Caleb Durward. So that's going to certainly be a super interesting match. The other people waiting in the next round 2 of the losers bracket are going to be Bob Wang, Noah Walker, who a lot of people actually have predicted to take the entire thing, and myself. Noah's an interesting case because I think of all the bracket submissions we received, I think, was it 30% of people believed Noah to take down the entire league, and he certainly has his work cut out for him if he still wants to do that.
I really think that a lot of people's brackets were absolutely destroyed by Rudy winning. I think everyone just expected him to just absolutely lose, and then he won, and what do you know? A huge number of brackets just got wrecked.
Yeah. A friend of mine also told me that he actually is still in the running for the perfect bracket, but that's going to be hard. So I think in a moment we can take a look at the deck lists of the players just to see what they have brought to the table tonight.
So folks, if you're not familiar with it and you're new to joining us, momentarily there will be an extension enabled called Cardboard.live, and you'll be able to click on the deck lists and see them. And if you don't like where the little icon is at on screen, you can go and drag it around to somewhere else. But go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah. So what we are seeing is that Vincent is actually returned to his deck. I want to say, there's 2 decks I associate him with, and none of them is actually Red Stompy. So Vincent has gone back to the tried and true Death in Texas. There's a little twist. Phil, do you want to tell us about that?
So, traditionally Death and Taxes is a mono-white deck, although you do have the option to splash some cards. And here, Vincent has opted to splash for 1 Orzhov Pontiff. Now, this makes sense given the metagame that we're expecting, right? We expect there to be a decent amount of the mirror, given that there's players like me and Malamujo and Michael Bond that might be playing the deck. And Pontiff's also just devastating against things like elves as well. So I'm really not surprised to see that card here. That said, what I am surprised to see is that there's only 3 sources that can cast this card. There are 2 Cavern of Souls and 1 Scrubland, meaning that he has to naturally draw one of those 3 cards because there's no fetch land, or he has to take an Ether Vial up to 3 in order to do that. Now, I had a mathematician a while back run some numbers for me on splashing, because that's the kind of life that I live as an academic Magic player. So if you want to have a 90% chance of casting a splash card on turn 4, if it has one colored symbol in it that isn't your primary color, you need 10 sources of that. If you want to have a 78% chance of casting that on turn 4, oh, and I should say these numbers also take into account in Aether Vial in your opening hand, you would need 6 sources. So if you need 6 sources to have 78% chance in order to get that, and he's only running 3, the chances of deploying this anywhere in like the early game or like the sort of like turns like 5, 6, 7, it's actually pretty low that he can actually get this into play.
Yeah, I wonder whether this is gonna be important in the match, because if you take a look at the deck list that Javier has brought to the table, he doesn't run any like sources of mana disruption. What Javier does, he disrupts your life total, I want to say. Like, he's playing Cephalid Breakfast, which is one of the oldest and coolest combo decks in Legacy that was recently revived from the dead, I want to say, with the banning of Deathwatch Shaman. And Javier is like confident. Everybody else got to submit deck lists, and we received new deck lists from everyone. Javier only sent us a single word. It said, same. So he's bringing the same thing to the table that he was running in the group stage. He believes in this deck. And it's pretty cool. So if you want to explain for our viewers how the combo actually works, because this is not just like a ragtag crew of random draft leftovers. This is an actual combo deck.
So this is a weird one. So in this deck, there are a number of cards that have a 0 converted mana cost activated ability. So we see those in Nomad's in Core and the equipment card Shuko. What you want to do is repeatedly activate these cards targeting Cephalid Illusionist. And that reads that when it becomes the target of a spell or an ability, you mill 3. You put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. You repeat this until you've dumped your entire library into your graveyard. You will get 3 Narcomoebas, which you will then use to Dread Return. You Dread Return the Mimeoplasm. When you do that, it's going to enter as, let's see, as a murderous red cap that has copied the power and toughness of Lord of Extinction. So murderous red cap will do approximately 1 billion damage to the opponent's face, killing them instantly.
So I wonder if we're actually gonna get to see this combo. You would think it's quite complicated. It's actually not that hard to amass. I think he's also running some tutors, Recruiter of the Guard. So if you want to look at the deck list, because this deck is pretty complicated, anytime throughout the match, just click on the Cardboard.live image below, and then on the left and the right side, you should be able to pop up the deck list and actually see the oracle text and everything about the cards. Also, my webcam seems to be frozen.
It's okay. They can just look at a still pretty image of you. It's fine.
I look pretty cute in that one.
Unquestionably. So one other thing that's sort of interesting about Javier's deck list is that in some cases he can just play a fair game, especially in the post-sideboard games where you see things like Swords of Plowshares and True Name Nemesis. But it looks like we're ready to battle. And Vincent has led on a turn 1 Aether Vial, just unquestionably the best start from Death and Taxes.
Yeah, we recently recorded a podcast. It hasn't been released yet, but you said something about Aether Vial in the opening hand makes Death and Taxes the best deck in Legacy. So that was a pretty big words. I wonder whether we're going to see that come to fruition.
Yeah. So Javier's hand is not a fast combo hand. And like Cephalid Breakfast can just roll D&T when it just goes like turn 1 Vial of its own into like Vial in one of my creatures, hardcast the other, and just go off on turn 2. But that's not the hand that we're seeing here.
Especially the Grand Abolisher can sometimes be like really annoying when Death and Taxes, when Cephalid Breakfast activates a Vial for 2 at the opponent's end of turn. And once the Grand Abolisher play, it's already too late to like do anything about that, unless you got, I don't know, some kind of interaction that you can use on the end step. So what is Javier looking to draw here? Because Vincent right now, he's got the Phyrexian Revoker. He knows what's up. He will probably name Nomads in Core, I would think. But what Javier can do is he can search up Shuko of Stoneforge Mystic and mill himself that way. So we were just talking about this in the early in the pre-match. So if Vincent gets down 2 Revokers, naming Shuko and Nomads and Core, then at least in the first game, Javier is almost reduced to playing this weird creature deck, except for if he manages to Murderous Redcap one of the Revokers. But that's going to be a tall order, at least.
So Vincent's actually in a relatively good spot, because with this Vial on 2, he doesn't need to name something with the Revoker proactively. He can just sit there and put it in response to like whichever one of the 0-cost things comes down first.
So right now you just want to sit back and develop your game plan, and eventually probably like make use of the Palace Jailer. Mike, can you check that? We are getting reports that the deck list on Cardboard.live was maybe missubmitted because it doesn't list the Palace Jailer. So while I check that, can you maybe check
I'm looking at the deck list. There's not a Palace Jailer on it on Cardboard.live. All right,
I guess
so
I can fix that.
To continue talking about the match here while our tech friends behind the scenes do some stuff. So we see Grand Abolisher coming down. This is going to limit the amount of interaction that we can see on Vincent's side of the battlefield. And so he's going to preemptively go and name one of the 0-cost interaction spells. And you see he initially typed out Shuko, and now he went for Nomad in Core, and he's kind of waffling back and forth. It is a guessing game. I like naming Shuko because like Stoneforge Mystic is like tutors for it. But it's kind of a wash. Of note, this means that the Aether Vials are now really active on Vincent's turn due to this Grand Abolisher. So this cuts down on some degree of the trickiness that we can see from cards like Flicker Wisp. The attack in with Thalia is going to be very safe here. The attack in with Phyrexian Revoker really wouldn't be safe, so I don't expect to see that coming into the red zone here.
So right now we are just waiting for Javier to make his real first move, I would think. So would you take the Vial to 4 here? You probably would, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on this turn, we're going to have to see whether or not he values putting in a Sanctum Prelate more, whether or not he values just like flickering out one of his opponent's cards for a turn more. That is something that might be a little bit unclear. The issue is that with Sanctum Prelate, there's not actually that many good things to name. Like, I guess you name one to shut off like Brainstorm Ponder, Cabal Therapy.
Here's an interesting thought. What happens if you put it to 4 and shut off Dread Return?
Ooh. Are there...
Javier has only...
There's the red cap. That can get it off the table. Yeah, that might have just been correct to do. So this is not one of those matchups that you get experience playing. Like, I have maybe lifetime played against Cephalid Breakfast 2 or 3 times. Like, I played it against it enough to know, like, these are what the cards do. But I don't know, like, the exact perfect approach of this matchup. This isn't one that I've played at my local store or anything like that on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think the last time I played against this deck was pretty exactly 10 years ago. I still remember playing against the deck, and that was 10 years ago. And I think it hasn't really made a big splash ever since, even though I think Travis Hughes in the chat tonight, he really enjoys that deck as far as I know. At least he was like pretty passionate when he commentated on Javier's match last the group stage.
So now we're going to see the fair side of Javier's deck. He's going to Stoneforge Mystic for a Batter Skull, and that's going to stop some of the bleeding from the other side of the battlefield. But this might just be a turn where Vincent just kind of gets very aggressive with his cards, and he does something like tick up both Vials, Palace Jailer out one of your creatures, Flicker Wisp my Palace Jailer, get rid of a second one of your creatures, and leave the opponent with borderline nothing.
I mean, that's when things kind of snowball with Left in Texas. Like, if left to its own devices and like being allowed to do its thing, it eventually just like almost locks you out of the game and like makes you disappear, and that's card advantage. I wonder if one plan that Vincent maybe has not, but that doesn't really work, like to flicker with the Sanctum Prelate to later on reset it to 4, but you can't really do that in instant speed because the Sanctum Prelate still needs to first return at end of turn, and it might be too late.
He did not tick that vial up to 4. That seems poor to me. The Palace Jailer Flicker with Palace Jailer line seems very powerful to me. We'll see what he's going for that's causing him not to do that. Just trying to figure out what his thought process is. Like, if he doesn't tick that vial up, what is he trying to accomplish, or what could he draw?
Maybe another Evoker, so he can keep the other vial at 2 and not take it to 3. Jarvis, thanks for your support. Thanks for joining the Glimpse chain.
Oh, and he also just didn't use the Flicker Wisp that turn.
So he's playing a very patient game here. I think the problem I see with that is that he actually doesn't really have too many great attacks here, except for those attacks with Thalia, but once Batterskull comes down, there's going to be an end to that. I wonder if we'll eventually just see a hardcast Lot of Extinction. Let me put up Javier's deck list to see whether he actually has any green sources. Well, he has 3 Cavern of Souls, and if he names Elemental, there's a chance, even though it probably wouldn't be great here.
So there's the drawn Murderous Redcap. That's going to be pretty good. And I don't know exactly what it's going to do yet, like which card it's going to get rid of, but like he's going to get to put in the Batterskull this turn. Okay, yeah, so now we're seeing the play that I expected to see last turn. But it's just so much worse here because now Javier gets to like get the Batterskull.
It's kind of funny, like if you look at this far, Javier is really just playing this, I want to call it like a sealed deck, or it's more like a cube draft gone wrong deck. But Vincent is, I mean, he's got a pretty okay position here. Like, I see one problem. If there's like the random draw of the Nomads and Core, or I think a Recruit of the Guard might do it as well. That would lock, that would like take the game for Javier if he's got enough mana to play through Thalia.
So given what Vincent has done in the past turn cycle, I think his plan now is just like block the Batterskull with Palace Jailer, flicker with the Palace Jailer.
Thanks.
Get another creature in that capacity. It's a little unclear whether or not like he'll take out the Batterskull Germ token in that fashion, or whether or not he'll just like get the Cephalid Illusionist off the battlefield, because like that's certainly defensible as well.
You know what I'm wondering? Javier needs a lot of Extinction to actually execute his combo in the graveyard. Or on the battlefield, of course. No, actually, he needs him in the graveyard for the Murderous Redcap to copy the power and toughness. How does he actually get Murderous Redcap in the graveyard? I think the only way I can see it right now is something like hardcasting it and letting it die in combat, or
there's
going
also
Cabal Therapy. Yeah, but that's
Cabal Therapy himself. No, he can't because of the Sanctum Prelate. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't even count. You can't even play. That's why I was asking. Because next step is like, okay, you can like maybe brainstorm on the mill. No, you also can't brainstorm. And as far as I know, he also doesn't have Chase. So it's this weird puzzle that Javier will have to solve while Death and Taxes is putting some pressure on him. And looking at the deck list, there really is no way. I guess he can cast Lord of Extinction and then daze it. That would be like a way to go about that.
You can also just like get up to 8 and discard it. Like that's not the most graceful way to do that, but it works.
It requires some kind of stable board to do that. It's going to take a while, but yeah, I'm really curious how like Javier is really good. What a lot of people actually didn't know, including me, he's actually the inventor or creator of the deck. He played it at, I think it was a Pro Tour or like, no, it was a GP some 15 years ago or something. Like he pioneered this deck. Lexux S, thanks for the subscription. Thanks a lot for joining the Glimpse chain. Whoa.
So it looks like our sponsor, Cardboard.live, is gifting subs to people.
Cardboard.live and Canaxa have been like gifting subs like it ain't no thing. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for like increasing the glimpse chain. I don't know if we will see elves tonight, but that's like a pretty huge glimpse chain at this point. So we get Murderous Redcap coming down. Javier continuing his cube draft theme, like never play the same creature twice. And he's gonna take out Mother of Runes because he kind of has to, because once Mother of Runes becomes active, Murderous Redcap becomes rather pointless because it's his only removal spell in the entire main deck. So...
yeah, now we're probably gonna see Flicker Wisp go and save that. Unsurprising. So
yeah, Mother is actually gonna be pretty big here.
One sort of interesting thing is that Vincent opted to just like Thalia block and bounce in order to invalidate the Batterskull attack. If he just wanted to like get rid of the Batterskull, he could have like blocked with Thalia, and Palace Jailer, put 2 damage on it, bounce Thalia, and then trade like the empty Palace Jailer body for Batterskull Germ, just to talk about other things that were available.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of game where you have to go like for small incremental advantages while like doing your best to stop your opponent's combo. Like because Vincent doesn't really know.
Oh, this is just like the Recruiter of the Guard here is absolutely disgusting.
What are you going to get with Recruiter?
Well,
another Revoker,
it's really going to depend on whether or not Javier does anything within his turn cycle. Like getting a Revoker and putting it on the Nomads is pretty awesome. All right, and we see the concession there. Interesting.
Yeah, I think at this point it became almost impossible for Javier to actually like combo Vincent out. There was like a very small chance, but he's just going for the sideboard. So what are we seeing on the Death and Texas side? Are you looking to bring in? He's got Ors of Pontiff lined up, a Pithing Needle, a Sanctum Prelate, 2 Surgicals, which makes sense. 1 Rest in Peace. I think you want to go for both Rest in Peace, right? And he's got the Remorseful Cleric as well. So
he has a lot of graveyard hate in the board, which is actually going to be a huge boon for this matchup. So Vincent actually kind of has a wealth of riches here. Like he has so much that he can bring in. So the question is like, how many cards can I bring in without destroying the core of my deck? Because like Path, Needle, Surgical, even like Canonist, Cleric, Rest in Peace, Council's Judgment, Pontiff, Prelate. Basically every card in the sideboard except Gideon is a defensible card that you could bring in. So like the real question is like, what cards are bad? What do I need to take out of the main deck? And based on that, he'll sculpt his sideboarding. And you can see he's just brought in a huge, huge pile of cards.
And he's taking up Mother as well. Yeah, it's interesting because Javier actually goes the other direction. He's gonna add a ton of like good mid-range cards, I want to say. He took out a couple of combo pieces. He took out Nomads and Core. He took out one of the Necromobers because he's pretty confident that he can do with 2, meaning that when he goes for the combo, he needs another creature in the graveyard, which is quite likely playing against Death in Texas. Because like while they're good at locking you out, they're actually not that good at killing all your creatures. Except for maybe if he can like get a Pontiff or 2 activations in there, that could be pretty devastating to Javier. But other than that, like if you look at the right side of the screen and you see Javier's deck, yeah, I just want to go back to the theme of like a cube deck. It kind of feels like that. He's got like 3 sorts of Plowshares.
It's a cube draft where he somehow got triple True Names and Jitte. And that might be what actually wins him the post-sideboard games. True Name plus Jitte is one of the hardest things for D&T to deal with. And Vincent may not know that he's on this sort of like pseudo-transformational sideboard plan. And so we see the Council's Judgments still sitting in the sideboard there. That would be like a way to answer True Name. Although with his deck list, he does have those Pontiffs. Whether or not he can cast them, we'll see.
I wonder how Vincent is actually going to react to True Name Nemesis. Like he's got the 2 Ors of Pontiffs, which already help a lot against that card. Is there anything else in his sideboard? Like you're a very experienced Death in Texas player. Would you bring in something like Council's Judgment, which is like super slow against the combo? And I wonder whether you wouldn't just like try to race in the air.
I'd certainly want that other recruiter in the main deck for this game, right? Like it finds your narrow hate cards, it finds your hate pieces, it even finds your finishers. So I think I'd really want the other recruiter at least, without sitting down and doing the sideboarding myself. It's a little hard to say like, yeah, this is exactly what I do, because this is one of those, you have so many good cards, you have to figure out which way do I want to attack this game? Does it matter if I'm on the play or if I'm on the draw? And which cards am I most scared of losing to?
And we see Vincent with a really good hand here. Like, he's got ways to disrupt an early combo. He's got a lot of pressure. He's got disruption. I would not want to be... Like, Javier actually has the combo undisrupted on turn 4, I think. But
I don't think he goes for the combo here. I think he plays Stoneforge and just, like, fetches up a Batterskull. No, never mind. I would have, like, potentially tried to play this out as a mid-range game with like Stoneforge, Batterskull, Jisse as plan A, and then like let my opponent expend their resources dealing with that, and then like try to go into the combo backdoor later on. I
still kind of like going for the combo pretty early, because by playing this Cephalid Illusionist, he enables the top deck of either Shuko or Nomads and Core as a potentially immediate kill. Like, he doesn't know that Vincent has Surgical Extraction to stop him from doing that. But like, if you can get a free win early on against Death and Taxes, then I think I would certainly try to go for that. And we see him going for it. Like, ideally, you kind of want to like Brainstorm and then Stoneforge, but you don't really have that luxury, like being stuck on 2 lands for now.
Yeah, and with Cavern of Souls being the land that he had there after the other Tundra got wasted, like there are real deck building costs to putting Cavern of Souls in your deck. Like, it doesn't get to cast things like Brainstorm and Swords to Plowshares.
Do you think Javier is going to go for the, like, he sided out Force of Will, so he's pretty cold, I want to say, to Surgical. Like, if Surgical hits Necromurba, it's especially problematic. Like, the later he hits the first Necromurba, the more...
Sorry, did I miss something? Did Vincent just intentionally not make a land drop? Right? Was that his turn 4?
It looks like he actually might have missed a land drop. Yeah, he wastelanded. That could have been a mistake. Pleasant Kenobi plays Plains. Okay, apparently he played a Plains, but did he... Okay, anyway. So...
Okay. Sorry. Javier was on the play this game. So this is his turn 4. I just looked at the counter wrong. So, all right. I just saw that turn go by quickly, and I thought he had missed a land drop.
So... Lucky for Javier, I want to say, and actually it's going to be interesting whether Vincent is trying to disrupt the Necromurba's or whether he's going after the target of the Dread Return. Because going after the target of the Dread Return works even if Javier has the Cabal Therapy to flashback and make sure that there wouldn't be like any kind of disruption, because Surgical is instant speed and you could do that in response. So yeah, this could be very bad for Javier here. Is he going to mill his entire deck? Only to see... Actually, he doesn't need to mill his entire deck.
How far down he goes with the milling, right? He only needs to go so far that he gets his Mimeoplasm, his Murderous Red Cap, and he doesn't necessarily even need any more Narcomoebas, right? Like, he has 3 creatures in play. If he wanted to just, like, not mill himself out, he could play more conservatively. But I imagine we'll hit a couple of Narcomoebas by the time we find the other targets.
Yeah, but he already got both of them. And once you let the first come into play, I think you just like let him do his entire thing. And Javier knows this. Like, he's played against Surgical Extraction many, many times with this deck. And he just needs to put as many creatures into the graveyard so that the Lord of Extinction, and by that the Murderous Red Cap, is going to be large enough to potentially kill Vincent. But that's not going to work. And from there, Javier will have to play like a real game of Magic, but at that point he will also have sacrificed 3 creatures, so it's going to be tough.
So question, is there any point in Javier just kind of like stopping before he mills the Dread Return and Cabal Therapying for Surgical Extraction to just play around this card?
Yeah, I think
although I guess it's already too late, right? Because he can already like get the Mimeoplasm. But that would open like the back door of like just Dread Return a True Name Jitte.
So the best case scenario for him would be to mill the first Cardboard therapy before any relevant card into the graveyard, so he could go after the Surgical Extraction. But now that he's got pretty much the entire combo in the graveyard, I can't see the Dread Return, but Dread Return won't really do much in this game, except for, like you mentioned, maybe going for the True Name. Because if you force Winston's hand by going for the Cardboard therapy, then you will know. Because what else would you really name? Is there any other card you would want to name here? Probably not. Because if he doesn't have the Cardboard, like, okay, you could. Is there any way that Doesn't Texas can disrupt Murderous Redcap with a Vile on 2? I see no way to do that.
Remorseful Cleric is also a card with Vile on 2 that's relevant to the board. There's
what do you name that? What do you name Surgical?
I'd name Surgical. Like, Surgical is more or less a guaranteed 2-of in the sideboard currently. Like, there are some people messing around with Fairy Macabre as well, but Surgical's the more popular option. And Remorseful Cleric is sort of falling off the map right now due to all of the Dread of Knights running around, which is unfortunate because I really like that card, but I just don't think it's playable with so many decks running 2 to 3 Dread of Knights.
So here's a thought. What about Javier just really abandoning his plan A and just going for the beatdown? Is that gonna be good enough?
It's not crazy. Like, the whole True Name Jitte plan is just as scary to me as the combo kill, if not scarier.
Like, if you get a True Name down here, like, obviously the one thing to maybe raise Javier is Mirren Crusader, but Mirren Crusader eventually dies to Chitte, and Chitte hits in the air. So, I mean, the Recruiter can probably do something about that, but
yeah, Recruiter of the Guard can get Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp can blank Jitte for a turn or 2, and then you try to draw into something else. But it would definitely be an uphill battle.
And Javier still gets to name something. He's probably not going to name Mirren Crusader, even though that would be like an insane read. I wonder what he's going to name here. Like, Vincent hasn't really like demonstrated. Like, you would probably name a 3-drop here since Vincent didn't use his mana in the main phase. I would go after. I would probably name Recruiter of the Guard, actually, if you ask me.
I think Recruiter of the Guard or Flicker Wisp are good names here.
Yeah, Flicker Wisp as a far-off should also be like a very good thing to consider. Actually, let me check how many Cardboard therapies Javier has. Javier's got 2 Cardboard therapies. So if he wanted, he could continue milling and then like hit the other Cardboard therapy, depending on how far down it is. I'm not sure if that's what you want to do, but I think taking out the Mirren Crusader. I mean, if you get a hit on the Recruiter, he names Flicker Wisp. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
I wonder, like, if he had hit the Recruiter of the Guard, I think there's actually some big value in keeping on milling and hitting the second Cardboard therapy to take out the Mirren Crusader. Yeah, but now he sees this hand, and I think this is, especially because of the Wild, this might be a hand that you cannot raise. I'm not sure. Like, the Chitte is a big game, but if he hits his 4th land drop, then next turn he can immediately connect with Chitte and take out Mirren Crusader. Yeah, he just goes in the beatdown. Like, a Cephalid Illusionist and a Stoneforge Girl walk into an opponent. Take 2. Oh, take 3. There's Shugo. If he takes this game, man, that's going to be one of the most impressive games of the league thus far.
So this is all quite interesting on a number of different levels. Because if Javier gets the 4th land, then in the air, he has Narcomoeba and Jitte active on the next turn. That will be incredibly powerful relative to Vincent's current hand. Vincent will have all the options in the world, though, for his turn. He can Recruiter of the Guard, get a Flicker Wisp the Recruiter of the Guard, get another Duder. He can play Mirren Crusader to hold the ground. He can then, like, Recruiter of the Guard up, you know, a Flicker Wisp that could be a defensive Flicker Wisp in following turns. We're going to have to see what his thought process is.
Also, let's not forget that Javier can get pretty much any creature in his deck at any main phase if he wants to. Like if he's willing to mill himself a little bit more. He already got a pretty good selection. He's got Palace Jailer, he's got True Name Nemesis. I wonder if like Recruiter, a lot of Extinction could actually do something here. There's Mirren Crusader, which kind of blanks the card unless it's got Trample, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Trample.
So why did that vial get left at 2? I guess this just has to be like Recruiter of the Guard for Phyrexian Revoker then. Revoke Umezawa's Jitte. And then just hope that Javier has boarded out the combo. Like, there's still some real fear that Javier can cobble something else together out of the graveyard.
Yeah, right now, as weird as it might sound, but I think I wouldn't hate being in Javier's position there, especially because of the potential of like Dread returning to force through a win somehow. And with the Recruiter of the Guard used up, Javier will gonna have a lot more flexibility because right now he doesn't really know, like, is Vincent gonna try to erase a potential True Name Nemesis or what's going on there? And he gets the Revoker. He can't really revoke Shuko, would he? That would be like weird.
So I guess he doesn't have to take action with the Revoker right now. The Revoker can just sit here and hang out in the hand. And then if he goes for the Jitte, then Revoker gets filed in. But what we'll probably see instead is Javier anticipating this, playing a Stoneforge and getting a Batterskull. Unfortunately, he doesn't have 2 white this turn, so he can't both like play Stoneforge and like force the immediate response. Ooh, this is interesting. So this could just be a moment to like file in Thalia and just nug one of these creatures for free.
Whoa, he didn't? Oh, okay. I mean, and he keeps on like grinding him out. He's got Lingering Souls now. It's like, Vincent, do something, man.
Oh, I didn't even see that in the graveyard. Yeah, so this is really cool. So he can cast Lingering Souls, then cast Stoneforge, fetch the Batterskull, and just like totally go for this out value on the board plan.
Can
you
move the graveyard a little bit down because it's blocking? Yeah, thanks.
So we have a better look at the graveyard now. We can now see that Batterskull is in there. So please ignore what I said in the last 30 seconds.
So what are you actually looking to draw on Vincent's side here, except for maybe Ors of Pontiff? Because I was wondering whether a Recruiter would eventually get Ors of Pontiff, but it's so hard because it only kills like half the board. And then you can't answer Chitter, so maybe Revoker was the correct thing to get here. Also, interesting, does Javier have to mill himself on the activation, on the targeting on the Cephalid Illusionist? I guess he still has enough cards left in his library. He's got 6 cards. Is that his library? Yeah. He should have 6 cards left in the library. I actually don't know whether Cephalid Illusionist is May ability or not.
Ooh, that is...
Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. So if Vincent finds another Swords to Plowshares here, and Javier, I think, doesn't have a way to stop himself from decking, that could be pretty interesting.
That is exciting.
I want to see it come down to that. Like, I have no horse in this race. I just want to see an awesome game. Javier down to 5 cards. If Vincent can hold out a little longer, and what else does he have to target creatures?
Yeah, and so here we see the Cephalid Illusionist attack, right? So that's totally in respect of, I think, exactly what we were just talking about.
He's like, yeah, I want to get rid of this guy. Kill him with fire.
That's so sad. That would have been such a cool way to win.
Yeah.
This is what I like about like playing D&T is I always get to learn these like new and interesting things that my deck can possibly do. And when you play against a lot of the obscure matchups, sometimes you get to like put yourself into these really weird spots of like, how can I win this? Things look terrible. And that would be one way.
Also interesting, Dread Return is one of the cards left in Javier's library, I believe. But I'm not sure if his fetch land can actually fetch another black source. So should he ever draw that, I'm not sure if he can actually cast it.
Oh, God. Oh, it's Orzhov Pontiff.
It's actually not that devastating, but he might be able to actually still turn it around and raise Javier now. What do you name on the Sanctum Prelate here? Just one? Or two? You could actually name two to take out... No, that feels wrong. He's got Stoneforge anyway.
One would take away the opposing cantrips.
You don't really want to cast those, right?
One would also shut off your own removal. It would shut off his Swords to Plowshares. So this would be a time like where I'd look at the graveyard and try to anticipate like what can my opponent have? Vincent's doing a little Dance with Smear Crusader there. I like naming 4 there. The Dread Return's still gone. And like the air has been essentially negated right now with the Orzhov Pontiff being able to wipe the board of those. So shutting off 4 for Dread Return for True Name Nemesis makes a lot of sense to me.
So what's your avenue to victory here? Are you trying to beat Javier down, or are you actually trying to deck him?
I'm trying to deck him at this point.
Yeah. Because you would figure that there's not a lot of relevant cards left in his deck, and you can probably beat the board.
Yeah, you can jump block and trade with the board into oblivion here, so long as you don't expose your Phyrexian Revoker to let that Jitte get online.
And Vincent gets there. He takes down the match in a very, very interesting game of Magic, where Javier almost manages to still win despite the problem of like losing his actual win condition of the combo.
Yeah, so Javier's deck is super interesting. But Death and Taxes is always this deck that like somehow manages to cobble together a win, even though the opponent is doing often objectively more powerful and broken things.
Yeah, I think the one problem we saw here, that Death and Taxes is kind of a matchup where you want to side out your Philosophers. But if Death and Taxes also brings in such a backbreaking card as Surgical Extraction, you kind of are like exposing yourself to it, and you know it, because unless you draw that Cabal Therapy or like hit the exact sequence of mills that you need before Cabal Therapy, before Surgical actually does something devastating, then you can play around that. But when you're siding out Force of Will, which you probably have to, I agree with that, then you sometimes get these blowouts, I would think.
So I also do want to congratulate Vincent on destroying many people's brackets. A lot of people were betting against him after the mono black pack rat shenanigans that occurred in the first round of the Legacy Premier League, but he comes back and totally redeems himself.
Yeah, I mean, when we ran a poll about the potential winner of this league, even before the group stage, Vincent was far and away the biggest favorite to win the entire league. So I think in the next round, he might actually be going up against Noah Walker. Let me check. Yeah, Vincent is going to face... Oh, he's facing Caleb. Yeah, we talked about that. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Caleb playing, I think, some kind of Steel Stumpy match.
Steel Stumpy, yes.
But so what's the matchup like there? I think that would be like... Walking Ballista should be really bad for Death and Taxes.
Walking Ballista is not a fair Magic card when you're playing a bunch of X ones. That card's really scary. So what tends to happen is the Steel Stompy deck gets far ahead in the early game, and it's Death and Taxes' job to try to stabilize the board before they die. Steel Stompy just has so many powerful 2-drops that can be hard to do.
I guess Phyrexian Revoker is one of your best cards in that matchup.
Yeah, Revoker's great. The CMC 1 removal spells are great when your opponent doesn't Chalice. Flicker Wisp is pretty good. But a lot of times, like, the equipment package is really slow. And the Vile Hands are very important.
So for the next match, I think we have Andrea Mengucci going up against Wilson Hunter. Is that correct? Has Andrea returned from his restaurant visit? Yes, that's great. So, I guess I can't talk about the deck list yet. So our next commentators are going to do that. But I want to say a big thank you again to Cardboard.live, as well as Kanaxe, who just gave out an infinite number of subscriptions to our chat, which will give you that sweet Thinking Behemoth emote. And I think, Phil, you and I, we both have a partnership application going for Twitch. So in the next week or two, we're also going to hit partner on there most likely, or hopefully, and then you're going to see a lot more speedy modes. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
also, big shout outs.
Go ahead.
Yeah, big shout outs to our other sponsors, especially like Cardboard, who are helping us a big time making all of this happen. Like if it wasn't for Cardboard, you wouldn't see this league at all. And I really have to thank them because they also supported us in the previous league. They're just like all around great guys. I want to say, I've actually never met them personally, but they were always so open to supporting this kind of content. So show them some love on Twitter. If you want to get a deck, definitely get it from Cardboard. If you want to play Magic,
they've been awesome to the Legacy community.
Yeah, they're supporting podcast. They're running their own podcast. They've got a couple of really interesting projects. They're supporting, like, I think you're also on Team Cardboard, right?
I am.
Yeah, so if you see some content. Yeah, so other than that, I also really like big shout outs to Cardboard.live who are giving us this sweet overlay so you can see all the different deck lists and in the future also like metagame analysis and also MTG First, like your preferred card shop in, I think they're them.
Is it
Maryland? Maryland? Yeah, Maryland. I wasn't sure about the city. But yeah, they're running the Quest for Power series. So in near future, in September, you can actually win a Mox Ruby there. But we're going to learn a lot more about that later on. So with that, thanks a lot, guys. And we're looking forward to the next match now.